Hello and welcome to Elite Pilates Teacher Training, YMCA Level 3 Diploma in Mat Pilates. My name is Paul and I'm an instructor and teacher here at Elite Pilates. This lesson is an anatomy lesson and the muscle we're looking at today is the biceps. The biceps, the origin of the biceps are two places. It's what's referred to as a bi-articulating muscle. All that means is bi just means two, articulate just means movements, to bring about movement. The short head of the bicep attaches to that part there of the shoulder blade. That's part of the scapula and it's referred to that particular point as the coracoid process. So the short head originates from there and comes down, and then the long head comes through the bicipital groove of the humerus, comes over the head of the humerus, and I believe I'm right in the sense the only one in the body whose tendon is actually encapsulated in a joint capsule, and it attaches to that part again of the scapula called the superior labrum of the glenoid fossa. You don't need to know that, just basically the most important point of the origin of these muscles is it's the shoulder blade, it's the scapula. And they come down and they insert in the radius, that one, and in interosseous membrane, in fascia of the forearm muscles. Again, don't be overly fixated with exactly. The most important part for this is it attaches to the scapula from a Pilates point of view, from a functional point of view. So that's the origin. Remember, the origin tends to stay more stable, and it's usually insertion as a general rule that is more mobile. So most people are aware, what's the action of the bicep muscle? Remember, it's bi-articulate, so it actually brings about two movements, but unfortunately most people just seem to think all it does is flexes the elbow. As you mentioned in a classic Pilates class, or in a Pilates class I should say, you're working on biceps today, we're going to work on biceps, yeah. And they tend to be females, the eyes sort of glaze over, they just seem to think that the bicep is a glory muscle, a showy muscle, it's big guns. It's not. From a Pilates point of view, it's very functional, all to do with the fact that it attaches to the sacrum. So yes, everyone's aware it flexes the arm. Because I'll just turn Frank to his side. Because of where it attaches, it also flexes the shoulder joint. So if you want to work the bicep, you don't just work it in flexion of the elbow. Start it back here and bring the arm forward. It works the bicep muscle. Keeping the arm straight, keeping the arm straight and just flexing the shoulder forward is working your bicep muscle. So that's its direct function. What other functions does it serve? It's a massive shoulder stabilizer. So let's say I'm working with a client, maybe they had a bit of an injury or maybe surgery or they're rehabbing. I'm trying to do rehab work, but not every Pilates instructor is a level 3 course. But anyway, keep it simple. Let's just say you're dealing with someone who's got a little bit of unstable. They want to make it a little bit more stable. They don't want it to subluxate, which is like a partial dislocation. They want to keep it nice and stable. So one of the jobs of the long head of the bicep is, if it's relatively strong, and we're after all muscles to be strong and flexible, it brings the humerus into the head, closer into the shoulder joint, and just makes it more stable. Because of where it attaches here and here, it brings it in and makes it stable. Now it works in conjunction in particular with the long head of the tricep as well. So the long head of the triceps, we'll do another lesson, helps to stabilise the shoulder. But this lesson is about the biceps. It is a stabiliser of the shoulder. Yes, it bends the elbow, but more importantly, from back here, it flexes the shoulder joint. And that's the origin, the insertion, and the action and function of this muscle. So usually when some people have issues with the shoulder, sometimes the bicep is involved, or conversely, yes, some people have bicep issues and it can refer to the shoulder. Problematic which is the fun bit for the shoulder, there's that many muscles that attach directly and indirectly that have an effect on the shoulder. So it's quite a complex joint really, because there's that many muscles that can be involved. But it's worth considering from bicep work, don't just think of it as a glory muscle. It's very functional in relation to the main thing is it stabilizes that shoulder joint. But when you're exercising the bicep, don't forget to bring it back from extension into flexion, because that's a full range of motion for the long head and the short head, mainly the short head, which attaches to the coracoid process. So what other things can happen? So that's if it's weak, you can have shoulder instability. If the bicep is weak, you can have shoulder instability. So you can do certain muscles to strengthen up and fix and help resolve that issue. What if it's too lax, what if it's overly tight, which it tends to be? Why does it tend to be overly tight? Because on that coracoid process, you've got another few muscles as well. We spend coracobrachialis, you don't really need to know about this, and the pec minor, which I've done a video on the pec minor, attaches to the coracoid process. We tend to be round shouldered. We tend to spend our lives, whether it's driving, I use driving as a classic example. When this little person is driving, their shoulders be up there somewhere, internally rotated. The short head of the bicep is in a shortened position, as well as the pec minor and the coracobrachialis, which is great while we start driving. When we come to do other activities, it pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls. All those three muscles pull on that part of the coracoid process. Remember, that's the shoulder blade. There. It's all part of the shoulder blade. If these muscles are taut and tight and they pull, they're effectively pulling the shoulder blade that way. So what you get is a type of wing scapula, but more from the lower edge. It's usually the inferior angle here that lifts away. There's the thoracic rib cage, there's the thoracic rib cage, ribs, and it tends to pull it that way. More wing that way, if you can use that expression, rather than the weak anterior serratus, which tends to wing that way. So that's one of the issues you can have, which is also, again, because there are so many muscles that attach directly and indirectly, that can have an effect. Just that having tight biceps or tight chest in general can have an effect on all the other muscles. Neck issues, mid-back pain, you name it, even pain down the arms, that's because of the bicep. A lot of muscles involved. But don't just think, what I'm getting at here, the main thing I'm getting at is, don't just think of the bicep as a glory muscle, it's just for show. It's not, but it's a massive part. Most people tend to need it stretching off up here because we're tight up here, we're internally rotated. These muscles, in combination with others, tend to be overly tight. The ones at the back, conversely, tend to be weak or longer. So that's the type of thing you are looking for in a postural assessment as well. This isn't a video on postural assessment, but some things to look out for when you're doing postural assessments. What muscles might be causing that to pull away, the inferior angle of the scapula to pull away from the thoracic rib cage, from the thoracic spine, rib cage. And it can be muscles here tight. And that's the bicep. Again, don't forget to exercise it, especially in flexion. I'm Paul from Elite Pilates Teacher Training. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share and comment our YouTube videos, and follow us on Facebook. Elite Pilates Services, that's I think there, and we've got another page, Elite Pilates Teacher Training. I'm Paul, and thanks for watching.